deck. Esper Dragon's much more stock of the two. You're going to find, as I mentioned, Jace, Dragonlord Ojai, Dragonlord Silumgar, and then 3 Painful Truths, some dig through times, stuff like that. So a bit of an interesting build here from Wijaya. Painful Truths is a very popular card, I think, coming into the weekend.
I mean, we were talking in the pregame. Wijaya's deck is exactly what I would be wanting to play this weekend. It's Esper Dragons, it's got consistent mana, no third color, and then 3 digs, 3 Painful Truths in the main. The ability to just like overload on removal for some of these aggro decks and then just have great cards for mid-range mirrors.
Prairie Stream is the land that Vidianto's going to search up. He'll fall down to 19 from the polluted Delta. Get the battlefield all cleared up here. You see where Jeff plays the Shambling Vent. Looks like he wants to play his lands up front, stuff in the back. That's not going to happen.
He's getting ready to attack with it, maybe.
Fair enough.
You know, that's where it's going to be this game. No, but actually, in all honesty, Jeff having access to manlands like Shambling Vent are going to be very relevant to this game. He's very threat-light, and I don't think he wants to get into a late-game slugfest with Wijaya.
Let's see, what does Jeff have here on turn number 2? It's a Seeker of the Way. All right.
Yeah, 4 of them in his main deck. It is actually the only creatures in his list.
Slumguard Scorn's going to take care of that. No reveal necessary on the 4-spike version of that card. For Wijaya, he'll sacrifice a Bloodstained Mire now. Going to fall down to 18. Swamp likely to be on the way here for Vidianto.
Yeah, the worry is that, so if you look at the removal spells Jeff has, he's playing a 1 Valor Stance, 2 Ultimate Prices, 3 Silk Wraps, 3 Stasis Snares, 2 Ruinous Paths, you know, a Planar Outburst. This is about 12 dead cards game 1 that he's going to have.
Here's a copy of Painful Truths of Vidianto. This was the card coming into this weekend that everyone, I think, has realized that this is the real deal. You're going to play 3. I know you mentioned Adrian Sullivan playing 4 copies.
4 in the main.
Yeah. You play a lot of that card, you're going to be suffering a little bit in your Tarka Red matchup for obvious reasons, but this is a very powerful card.
Yeah, I mean, it's... sure, we have seen these draw 3s just be so powerful, you know, but as players can't really go toward a card like Treasure Cruise, Painful Truths has picked up the slack.
Vidianto with a Sunken Hollow pass the turn back for Jeff. It's an attempt at a Planeswalker here in Gideon, playing 3 copies of that card this weekend. As you mentioned, the Planeswalkers are basically his win condition, as Vidianto is going to take care of that one with an Utter End.
Yeah, so he has 3 Gideon, 3 Obnixilis, and 2 Sorin. I mean, this has been a good draw for Jeff. He's had a relevant play on turn 2 and a relevant play on turn 4, and I doubt he's going to get to do that every game here.
That's land number 5. And Dragonlord Ojutai number 1. So there is the 5/4 dragon. And really, if you think about Esper Dragons, this is really the card that kind of ties it all together.
Well, what this card does is it stone rains Jeff Hoogland many times over. The only ways Jeff can kill it are cards like Murderous Cut, Stasis Snare, and then a Valorous Stance. So what Vidianto can do is he can force Jeff to leave up 3 mana for the rest of the game or take Ojutai hits, and neither of those are things that Jeff can reasonably do.
Obnixilis Reignited does come down here for Jeff. He's going to draw a card at the expense of a life. Loyalty is going to go up to 6 there, so Dragonlord Ojutai can't take care of it in one shot at this point, which will be interesting to see exactly what Vidi wants to do in this situation. If he attacks Obnixilis, he can bring it down to 1, but then that opens up Dragonlord Ojutai to a removal spell.
Yeah, and I mean, I like the play by Jeff. This is one of the few cards I think that he can actually safely tap out for here, and that's because of that 6th point of loyalty. You know, as long as he has a kill spell for tapped Ojutai, which based on his list, it's almost a no-brainer that he will.
Yep.
I think he's okay with Obnixilis going down to 1. It was likely that all Jeff was going to do was plus the Obnixilis anyway, so 1 and 6 loyalty aren't actually all that different.
What's interesting here as well is Vidianto is playing a stock deck. You come into this tournament, you're thinking, all right, Jeskai Black, 4-color Rally, Esper of all varieties, Otarka Red, Obzon, stuff like that. When you're playing against Jeff, you know you're going to be playing against something off the beaten path. You don't know what it's going to be. So now all of a sudden, if you're Vidianto and you're in this particular situation, this is unfamiliar, where your opponent has an Obnixilis, they've played a Seeker of the Way, a Gideon, and now an Obnixilis. Am I going at you? Am I going at your Planeswalker? It's all very unclear. It looks like Vidianto's just going to go towards Jeff because, well, anticipating is pretty nice, but it won't surprise anybody to see this Dragonlord Ojutai bite the dust now.
Yeah, I mean, this is really the interesting part, right? You look at Jeff's lands, and Vidi at this point probably knows that he's playing against a 2-color deck. This isn't something he's really expected.
Oh.
But he hit pay dirt here on that Ojutai.
Dragonlord Silumgar is going to come down, going to take Obnixilis, which is going to minus to kill the ally token there from Gideon.
What a turn. Geez.
Yeah, that's a bit of a beating, because now Jeff, he needs to have 2 answers. Now, again, you mentioned how Jeff's deck has a bunch of removal. So if he has like his 1-planar outburst, he's actually in fantastic shape. Kill the creatures, get your Planeswalker back.
Beautiful.
Yeah, then you're happy. But he needs to get one of these dragons off the board right now.
I mean, Planar Outburst is the card he would want right now. And I don't think he's going to have it.
Oh, this is
This
okay.
works,
Yeah,
yeah.
this is still fine. He's going to be able to kill the Dragon Lord Slum guy, use Ob Nixilis to kill the Dragon Lord Ojutai, and now we're kind of back at parity, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Well, and I mean, and for this situation, the fact that he got the Ojutai off the board was really key. That card is great against him.
But this is kind of the difference in the matchup, and this is what you talked about right at the top, where Jeff's deck and Vidianto's deck, they both have a lot of counter spells, or excuse me, well, counter spells, removal spells, what have you.
A lot of trading.
Yeah, a lot of trading. However, Jeff doesn't really have the ability to gas back up like Vidianto does. Jeff does have Read the Bones, but Read the Bones, at least in my opinion, isn't as good as Painful Truths is. And Vidianto also has access to a card like Dig Through Time that Jeff doesn't have access to.
Their card draws are just on different levels. The way Jeff gets extra cards are the Read the Bones and Ob Nixilises. But, you know, he's not, if Vidi gets to chain Dig Through Times, Jeff has nothing at that level.
What Jeff would really like in this sort of deck is a card like Phyrexian Arena.
Yeah, I mean, it's why he's playing Ob Nixilis,
Yeah.
right? But unfortunately, Ob Nixilis can be killed a lot more easily than an enchantment.
Gideon is going to come down here for Jeff yet again. He's going to cash, I thought he might cash in for an emblem, but he's just going to make a Knight Ally right now. Now, one thing that Jeff does have access to that Vidianto does not is Secure the Waste, and he has three of those.
Yeah, so that's going to be one of his big payoffs. And we haven't seen, we saw some of it. You know, Gideon plus Secure the Wastes is really a good win here. And can come out of nowhere. And what'll be interesting is because you mentioned, you know, black-white control, not a known quantity. Jeff may be able to catch Vidi unaware with something like Secure the Wastes, play Gideon Emblem, win.
Well, the pressure's on now because Hoogland is here. It's going to minus to take care of the Knight Ally and Gideon, and this is the kind of card that demands an answer right away. Now, Jeff does have access to cards like Utter End. He can use Shambling Vent to get a little bit of work done here, but he's got to get this thing off the table. Here's a Read the Bones to look for some help.
Yeah, Jeff going to try to keep pace. Now, fortunately, he does have some cards that can just straight up answer the Hoogland. He is playing, you know, some copies of Ruinous Path. He has some copies of Utter End. It's not impossible for him to get the Planeswalker off the board, but he has a lot of pressure on those cards to do it, because outside of them, he doesn't have too much.
And Jeff has resolved Read the Bones, fallen down to 12, has found some more cards. Oh, he's going to fall down to 10 now, it appears, because he's going to go digging even further. Scry 2 here, will Jeff. Both those cards are going to go to the bottom. 2 cards coming here for Hoogland.
I think he needs one of those kill spells for Ojutai, or rather for Hoogland. And I think some of the game one knockness we were talking about is really showing up. If you look at what he drew off Read the Bones, he hit a Silk Wrap off it, for example. He has 3 in the main.
Yep.
Like I said, there are around 12 dead cards. That's a third of Jeff's spells that just don't do anything.
What's next here for VD? Oh, it's time to gas back up again, huh? A little Painful Truths.
When one player's casting Read the Bones and the other one's casting Painful Truths, it just night and day. Night and day.
It really feels that way.
Look at VD as he has to play cards this turn so that he doesn't discard.
Hoogland's going to go up to 5. Jeff's going to take 3. He'll fall down to 8. As you mentioned, now VD's got to get his his hand a little bit emptier by playing some cards. Duress isn't a bad place to start.
Yeah, what a problem to have on his side, right?
Take a look at Jeff's hand here. You're going to find a Sorin. Looks like an ultimate price, a Silk Wrap, a couple of lands hiding out over there.
Yeah, another kill spell that Jeff has actually gone to, if you're looking at the lands here, he has 3 copies of Blighted Fen in the main. That is the uncommon from Battle for Zendikar that you can use to make an opponent sacrifice a creature.
Yeah, the Edict effect that we haven't seen very much in Constructed just yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hangerback Walker has been one of the reasons that land really never hasn't shown up. There are a lot of decks that don't care about sacrificing a creature.
Yeah, that card has fallen off a cliff, though. I'd be surprised if we see it at all this weekend. Hangerback Walker has basically disappeared from the format, which has allowed a deck like Esper Dragons to potentially come back because all of a sudden Foul Tongue Invocation doesn't look so bad.
Yeah, you can play the card again.
Yeah, it's a welcome change. Haven of Spirit Dragon is the land there for Vidianto, and then he'll simply pass the turn back. We'll see if he wants to cash it in on Jeff's end step, but for now, we turn our attention towards Jeff's turn. Shambling Vent is going to attempt to go after Hoogland, and speaking of Foul Tongue Invocation, there it is.
It'll be a sacrifice on the Vent. And, you know, this is playing out how I'm kind of expecting Standard to be this weekend. We get to turn 8. Both players have 8 lands in play and still have 7 cards in hand. That's just, you know, this is a very familiar territory regardless of what colors the players are on.
Well, the thing is, the Tarka Red is here to kind of check that activity.
Yeah, I mean, it really is just in its own little category here.
Assuming people are playing it, you know, we'll have a metagame breakdown, all that stuff eventually, but assuming people are playing a Tarka Red, it's here to check really both these strategies. I imagine that Jeff's deck is lined up pretty well against Tarka Red. We know that a Tarka Red is pretty good against Esper Dragons, though.
Yep, Tom Ross on a Tarka Red this weekend. Yep. Started the tournament off with a win in the mirror, so It's out there in force.
Vidianto came across with the Shambling Vent. That's why you see the life totals here 11-4. Jeff will take a draw step.
Yeah. And it doesn't seem like he's found one of his answers to Ugin, the Planeswalker, which may just be too much.
Now, yeah, this is an interesting concession there by Jeff, and one that I actually like. His draw for the turn was Secure the Waste.
Yeah, and that's what he was looking for, but
it's a little late.
Yeah.
And I think in this situation, because again, Jeff is playing an unknown quantity, as he typically is, you don't want to give away that information, because Secure the Waste is not a card that's on a lot of people's radar right now as far as what the metagame presents. So kind of analyzed the board, figured, you know, I don't think I'm going to be able to win this game. There's not even a guarantee that Secure is going to resolve. So I like actually concealing that info.
Yeah, I mean, he could secure there. Ugin would go upstairs. There's a Haven of the Spirit Dragon in play. It just doesn't seem like he'll be able to survive the next 2 turns, even with a card like Secure.
Vidianto Wijaya does win game number 1 here over Jeff Hoogland. Esper Dragons up a game over Black-White Control, which means we'll take a look at the sideboards here for each player, get an idea of what they are working with. And we'll start with Jeff, who's got 4 Duress, a Transgress the Mind, a Surge of Righteousness, 3 Monastery Mentors, another copy of Planner Outburst, 2 Hallowed Moonlight, 2 Infinite Obliteration, and a Dark Petition. What do you like in Jeff's sideboard and why?
Well, he has so many dead cards that I kept talking about in game 1 that it doesn't surprise me to see him have a real live sideboard for this matchup. Okay, let's start with 4 Duresses. I mean, this is a control mirror, and Jeff's got a full play set of them. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to Transgress the Mind alongside the Duresses. So once he has the discard in, I think he wants to look few more threats to keep pressure on Vidi. So Monastery Mentor also seems excellent in the matchup. I wouldn't be surprised to see him use Dark Petition either. These games are going to go long enough where I think he'd have time for that card, even though it's expensive.
Other side of things here for Vidianto. 3 Monastery Mentors, 2 Irrational Clerics, 2 Negates, 2 Duress, 2 Self-Inflicted Wound, 2 Tasker the Golden Fang, a Languish, and an Ultimate Price.
All right, so if you're Vidi, you have to feel this one out as far as what he'll bring in. I do think Duress is good on his side as well, if he recognizes it's a control mirror. A card like Tasker actually also feels pretty good in the matchup. What Vidi will have to wonder is what cards he's going to get away from. Ultimate Price is probably not very good in this matchup. He does have some of those in the deck. Crux of Fate, he hasn't seen Secure the Waste yet, so he may get away from his sweeper there as well. So I'd expect to see him go toward Duress. Negate seems fine as well. I'll be interested to see whether or not Monastery Mentor comes in the matchup for Vidi's side.
Well, those are the options there for both players. Just shuffle up, get ready here for game number 2. In the meantime, we will talk about the StarCityGames.com holiday sale taking place from December 1st all the way until the new year. Right now, up to 20% off select promo lands. This particular sale will end Monday at 10:59 a.m., but be sure to check the website all month long. New items added at 11 a.m. East Coast time from Monday to Friday. Stocking stuffers all month long as well. StarCityGames.com holiday sale, December 1st until January 1st. Now, I do know that Jeff Hoogland, someone you're pretty familiar with, kind of in your area, a little PTQ action. He does love to brew. And of course, for Jeff, he is 24 years old. He's got an invitational top 8, 10 Open Series top 8s. And what it doesn't say here is he doesn't like to play stock decks.
No, Jeff has definitely been someone to play his own decks. Even from the beginning, we saw him on the Open Series. He actually had a pretty good breakout with one of the first players to really understand the power behind a card like Desecration Demon. That was like one of his first innovations. So, and we've seen that from then on. He'll go through different iterations. You know, he's been a big proponent of Jeskai decks in Modern, along with Kiki Chord decks. Recently in Standard, last year he was on the Teamer Mage all year, and now you see him going to something like Black-White Control.
I can appreciate a man who likes to innovate. I can. Always brewing, never going to play. I seriously don't think I've ever seen him play a stock deck. I'm not kidding. He's never just I don't think he's ever just like, I give up. I'm just going to play, Jeskai Black or whatever. I don't think I've ever seen it happen. The closest we got, I think, was the Players' Championship last year, where in Legacy he was going to play Death and Taxes.
Okay, yeah, he had it registered.
Yeah, that was that's honestly, I think, the closest he's ever gotten to just playing something that everyone else will play. People will know what he's up to. But one of the things about him is you do get small advantages from people not knowing what your deck does.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've mentioned that before, and he recognizes that and plays it well. Like you saw that last game, him not showing Secure the Waste game 1. That's a kind of decision that Jeff's very familiar with as far as when to show his hand.
Yeah. So we're going to see exactly how he does on a sideboard. Again, he's got some discard. He's got access to Monastery Mentor. He's got some Infinite Obliterations. If he wants to try to go that route, the Dark Petition can tie the room together. I imagine he'll be on the play here for game number 2. Vidianto did take a mulligan here, so he will scry from the new Vancouver mulligan rule. And we'll see if he wants to keep that card on the top or on the bottom before game number 2 does begin. And to the bottom it'll go. It's a Shambling Vent to start game number 2 here from Jeff. For Vidianto, a flooded Strand. He'll pass the turn back, Jeff, with a second copy of Shambling Vent. Vidianto going to keep his flooded Strand on the battlefield. No sacrifice just yet. I think he is setting up a turn 2 Jace, as he's going to sacrifice this flooded Strand now.
Yeah, and I mean, it's obviously a great play. Jace, one of the best cards here in Standard. And this is just showcasing some of the differences in the decks. They're both control decks, but Vidianto has access to a third color, and it's going to let him do things like play Jace here, which puts a lot of pressure on Jeff because I don't know if he has Silk Wraps anymore game 2, for example.
But one of the things I find pretty compelling about Jeff's deck is he has a lot of answers to Jace. This is a card, as he does play Monastery Mentor on turn 3 from the sideboard. This is a card in Jace where he's got so much removal in his deck that you have to imagine Jace isn't much of a problem for him. But as you said, the Silk Wraps might be out of the deck now since he didn't see Jace in game number 1.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, this is going to be a problem. He didn't kill it. And you see Vidi with a copy of Foul Tongue Invocation in his hand. He's already got 1 loot set up on the Jace. This is, I don't know if Jeff can kill it next turn, but he better. Things are going to get bad real quickly.
Now, the question here is, does Vidi have the black mana? Well, if he's discarding a black mana, it leads me to believe that he does have one.
Yeah, he has 2 basics, so fetch lands are pretty live here. I think he's going to discard the black mana and then fetch for it because he wants to get up to 5 cards a turn quicker for the Jace.
He's on the hunt here for a Sunken Hollow, was hiding out on top of his deck, so he'll search that up. You mentioned Foul Tongue Invocation. That might be on the way here in just a moment here from Vidianto.
Yeah, I don't particularly like Jeff's keep this game, mainly just because I don't, if he doesn't have a kill spell here, I just don't feel like this hand can interact with a Jace at any level.
Jace put a lot of pressure on you. Okay, there is a kill spell. It's an expensive-ish way to get it done in Murderous Cut, but Jace is off the battlefield. However, Vidi is looking to probably gas back up because he just drew another copy of Painful Truths.
Yeah, I mean, Vidi's hand is Painful Truths and 2 Dig Through Times. So we were talking about, you know, the ways the decks are not symmetrical. That's 3 of them right there.
1 and a 2 and a 3 cards here for Wijaya. A Shambling Vent. He'll pass the turn back over to Hoogland.
Yeah, he is perfectly content to play land go against Jeff.
Let's see what's next here. He's going to go with a Monastery Mentor, Will Hoogland, and pass the turn back yet again.
Well, this time he has 2 mana up, so even if Wijaya has the kill spell, perhaps Jeff has a way to get some value before the creature dies.
Maybe be able to leave a Monk behind.
Yeah.
For now, Wijaya's just going to pass the turn back after playing a Flooded Strand. Hoogland will draw a card. Didn't get a great look at it.
Well, this is dangerous. Monastery Mentor does not waste time when it comes to ending the game. Jeff does have a copy of Secure the Waste in his hand again, as well.
Here's a Sorin. Going to trigger the Mentor. Monk on the way. There's Jacob Wilson, our Season 1 Invitational Champion.
And what Jeff's deck really reminds me of, if you go back to last season, we had the black-white mid-range decks that were so good at the end of the season. Or this was, you know, the mono, it evolved out of mono black where there are these just really efficient threats and kill spells deck. I like Jeff's deck because it feels a lot like that. It's missing an effect like Underworld Connections to tie it together.
Connections, Phyrexian Arena, something like that. Just a steady source. Likely at the cost of a life, yes, but a steady source of card advantage. So it looks like Wijaya did sacrifice a fetch land to get a Prairie Stream.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he's kept in a card like Crux of Fate. This one, Scatter to the Winds.
Okay, so that's going to take care of the Sorin. Now, the Monastery Mentor will get to come across here for 3, given that prowess trigger.
Yeah. I actually like the pressure this has been doing. We have to remember, Painful Truths does deal 3 damage in addition to drawing cards. It felt like game 1 that just didn't matter at all. But because of Monastery Mentor, I do think Wijaya has to be slightly more concerned.
Here's Dragonlord Ochitai. Hoogland will draw. Remember to secure the waste in hand.
Yeah, Wijaya is a lot closer to being dead than he realizes. And then I have to wonder whether he's kept any of his sweepers in. He had a Languish on the board, 2 Cruxes in the main.
Didn't see Mentor game 1 for obvious reasons. It's not in Jeff's main deck.
Right.
Now, it looks like Jeff's hand, if I have a good glimpse of it, looks like just 2 lands and secure the waste. So trying to show some strength here.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have 2 non-creature spells, so he can't actually attack into Ojutai unless he wants to bluff into it.
Well, that'll answer that question.
And I like that Wijaya calls.
Here's Secure the Waste. It's going to be for a lot of tokens. So he's going to get a Monk as well. That Monk will get +1/+1. Mentor down, but now you see the plan. It's try to rush through with all these tokens and hope that VD doesn't have a sweeper.
Yeah, I mean, this was very aggressive. He traded his Monastery Mentor for 2 damage there.
Yep.
But Wijaya is at 9. It's... Right, so, I mean, the question is, can Ojutai find a sweeper? And if
Ojutai
so,
plus dig.
Yep. He's got a lot of looks at it.
2 digs in hand. He's got a Painful Truth in hand. His draw was Utter End, which, yeah, not so much right now. Not so much.
Yeah. And I like that Jeff made sure that he got the Secure the Wastes down before Wijaya had Counterspell magic up. That spell, it was essential that Secure the Wastes resolved.
And this is pretty important, too. Now, Vita's going to start off with a Haven of the Spirit Dragon as his land, and he'll continue to take his turn. But this goes back a little bit to not showing the Secure the Waste in game 1.
Yeah.
Or he could have thrown a Hail Mary to Secure the Waste and say, I don't know, maybe I can get lucky. But I think that by not showing it, it may have given him a better shot to win this particular game.
So he has to pass. What this means, so there's one other card we're forgetting about. So Wijaya, if he hasn't kept a sweeper in, he's searching for Ugin on this board, actually. Yep. Now, keep in mind, there are 2 Shambling Vents on Jeff's side. He's not that far from 8 mana. So even after an Ugin, there's a chance that if he gets Wijaya down to 2 or 1 here, that he can actually activate and swing.
There's a Shambling Vents on Wijaya's side as well. So this is going to make attacking difficult. Now, I believe that this is correct. I think this is something that Jeff should do, which is attack with everybody and maybe try to represent a spell here and see how Vidianto does want to block. If my eyes are working here this afternoon in Las Vegas, 2 lands in Jeff's hand.
Yeah.
Not a lot going on.
I mean, so what Wijaya has, he has a block with a Shambling Vent of his own, and then he can, I believe, dig through time on end step.
Oh, there are worse plays.
Yeah, no, it's good, actually. He still needs to find Ugin, and that's the most important thing.
Here's your block. Shambling in front of a Monk token. Dragonlet Ojutai in front of Shambling Vents. Jeff's going to pass priority over to VD. You mentioned dig through time as an option. Utter End could be an option here, too.
Yeah, he's debating. He only gets to have 1 of them.
Now, Shambling Vent is going to gain VD 2 life. So imagine 2 of those soldiers are kind of negated here. And it would appear that 5 damage would come through, bringing him down to 4.
Well, this is actually pretty interesting. So if Jeff has nothing, VD actually could just play Utter End here instead of Dig Through Time. And then Jeff's next attack actually wouldn't be lethal. Like, he just doesn't, this actually just doesn't do it. So it's interesting. He can decide whether he wants to go for Dig Through Time or Utter End. It looks like Dig is the call.
Yep. He's just going to pass priority in the attack step. Damage will be dealt. Vidianto's going to fall down to 4.
Yeah, and Jeff hasn't gotten him low enough, as surprising as that sounds.
Yeah, I think that Jeff is just hoping to draw some sort of spell to be able to maybe pump the prowess or something, or removal spell, what have you. But in the meantime, Vidianto's going to cast a Dig Through Time. He'll delve away 4 cards, pay 4 mana, and now he gets to take a look at the top 7 cards and take 2 with him.
Right. I mean, if Jeff finds a Gideon, that would be game over, for example.
Very true. Cash that in for the emblem.
Yeah, and that should almost certainly be enough unless VD has a sweeper here. Looks like he doesn't have a sweeper, and maybe he's picked up a Negate. As I mentioned before, if Jeff doesn't have him dead on the board, a card like Negate has a lot of value here.
And Jeff's deck is very spell dense this weekend. In the creature column, we have 4 Seeker of the Ways in his main deck. That's it. The rest of the cards look like they can be countered by Negate. And then in his sideboard, the Mentors have been useful. VD's going to take Negate with him along with another card. The rest are going to go to the bottom. Don't think he's found Ugin just yet. As you mentioned, if he finds Ugin, it's all over.
Yeah,
There's no coming back.
Well, it depends, because Jeff actually has 2 Shambling Vents, so Ugin's probably good. I mean, it's still his. That's how he wins, is finding Ugin, and that's gonna happen. But there's a situation where VD could tap out for Ugin and be dead.
Dress the draw here for VD this turn. You see the Negate, Painful Truths, Dig Through Time still in hand from earlier. That Utter End as well.
Well, this is actually interesting. He has another Shambling Vent in hand. So let's say he never finds the Ugin, but somehow can survive till next turn. 2 Shambling Vents as blockers should actually be enough to keep off the army of Secure the Wastes tokens.
We're going back Jeff's way. So we'll take a look at his draw step. It looks like it may have been another land here for him. He'll play a Swamp.
Well, I mean, if you know about the Duress in VD's hand, rather the Negate, then it's kind of a foregone conclusion that Jeff's just not really going to get to have any more spells.
Well, Jeff's going to fire up both these Shambling Vents.
Well, here we go. Can you get enough damage across? It will be 7 unblocked creatures. Vidi would only gain 2. He needs to remove 2 creatures for this to work.
You put 1 Dragon Loach Tie in front of a Shambling Vent. You put a Shambling Vent in front of a Shambling Vent. That puts you up to 6.
And 7 are getting through,
Yep.
so we need 2 kill spells. Or something of that sort.
Yeah. Jeff may have chipped away just enough.
Yeah. We'll see. If he has 2 cheap kill spells, say like a pair of ultimate prices, that'll do it.
There's block number 1. That's block number 2.
So if he blocks here, he could... Yeah, and I think he's looking at, okay, he can tap out and utter end another Shambling Vent.
Yep.
Then he gains 6 and lets 6 through.
Now, that's interesting, right?
Goes to
Because
6.
the turn previously, he could have cast Utter End, but he opted for Dig Through Time.
And if he goes with utter end, he does survive there.
I think he might get an additional turn, but that was not the case. So Jeff Hoogland going to tie things up here against Vidianto Wijaya. Black-White Control and Esper Dragons getting ready for game number 3. You see some of the powers secure the waste there on display. And now you see Vidianto immediately going back to the sideboard.
Yeah, he needs sweepers now.
Yep.
I mean, I think it became pretty clear that he wasn't playing with any in his deck, and that caught him. You know, Jeff making a great play by not showing it game 1. It really pays rewards down the line.
Yeah, that was really the kind of interesting thing in game number 1 is, you know, how much does concealing the information, how much is that going to pay off in this particular match? And I think for that particular game, it certainly pays off. And now I'm curious to see how Jeff wants a sideboard. Is he going to bring mentors out? Is he maybe going to cut back on secure? You know, what does he want to do? Because now Vidi's playing a bit of a guessing game.
Well, I'm not certain that Jeff can completely get away from mentors plus secure the wastes. He can go down on them, and I think Jeff will know that he's playing against sweepers this game, but without those 6 cards, I don't know if he has enough ways to win. So he may just have to say, okay, I got game 2 off some hidden information, and now I'm going to have to win game 3 in a little more of a straight-up fight.
Well, game number 3 will be underway between these 2 players in just a moment as Vidi does finish sideboarding and shuffling up. In the meantime, we're going to talk about our last Invitational champion. That's Alex Bistecki. He is a Germ token here on the SCG Tour, so congratulations to him. We're going to see him next weekend at the Players' Championship. And, of course, for this token, there's not a lot of time left to go about getting it. However, we will tell you the ways here. All of our Open Series players, all of our 5K Premier IQ players, and all orders from Star City Games, $5 and above. And of course, you come to the dealer booth as well. And I don't know about you, but Alex is a bit of a wild card for me at the Players' Championship.
He is the big unknown next week. So, you know, I believe he has judged 3 times as many SCG Opens this year as he's played.
Okay.
So, yeah. Definitely, so he's the representative of the judging community, and every time once in a while you see that, you know, a high-level judge comes through, has a big tournament finish, and no one really knows what decks to expect out of him. I mean, I guess you can say, well, he won the Invitational with Grixis Delver, so maybe you start there. But, you know, like, for example, what does Alex play in Modern? I'm not sure any competitor knows.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the more fun things to follow. If you take a look at what the players play in tournaments, the players that have qualified, you know, your Joe Lissettes, your Jacob Wilsons, your Jim Davis of the world, you got a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
For Alex, he is, like you said, the big wild card for the tournament. I have no clue what to expect. Maybe Grixis Delver at the Invitational he won was just given to him by a friend. He's just like, I don't have any other deck to play, so just take this. You have no clue what he's going to play. Shambling Vent to start here for Jeff on Vidianto's side. It's a Sunken Hollow. Bloodstained Mire there for Vidi, and now here's a copy of Duress. Bloodstained Mire going to get sacrificed by Vidi. Perhaps we'll see a Slumgar. Well, actually, won't be able to cast Slumgar Scorn.
It's not a polluted delta, so he's not actually going to be able to cast it. I'm curious why he'd want to fetch right now.
I mean, there's the potential for negate.
Yeah, he could negate.
If he's negating, it feels like if he's negating this, he's protecting Painful Truths.
And that makes sense. That's a great start. And that's what he'll do.
Yep, there is negate.
I mean, if this matchup's about card economy, that's the play to make. But Jeff having none out of it, he has a second Duress.
And Duress will show you Foul-Tongue Invocation ×2, an ultimate price, an island, and a polluted delta. So that negate on the Duress was more of an information concealer, I think.
Yeah, with that kind of hand, I'm surprised that Wijaya would actually use the negate there. I mean, I suppose that there's a school of thought that you should always negate a Duress, because if negate's actually useful in this hand, then they're going to just take it with your Duress. So, you know, if you're not doing anything else with your mana, might as well.
An island there for Vidi, pass the turn back. For Jeff, it's a Plains. When he does have to cast a creature, eventually some creatures will enter the battlefield for him. Those lands are going to slide on back, unfortunately. He's very comfortable with lands up front.
Well, what I like here is that information that Jeff gained, now he is going to immediately secure for 2 because he knows that Wijaya has double Foul Tongue Invocation.
And there is a secure for 2. 2 soldiers, in we go. Wijaya going to fall down to 17. The follow-up here for Jeff is a Seeker of the Way. Actually, excuse me, that might be Transgress. Yeah, it is Transgress. And that's going to take care of Foul Tongue.
Yeah, not the best situation. I don't think Jeff was particularly concerned about Foul Tongue Invocation this game, but at least he hits off Transgress.
Yeah. Negate, I believe, the draw there for Wijaya. Flooded Strand was the land.
And Negate will actually play pretty well here.
I like the aggressive attack here. Fire up the Shambling Vent, come across for 4.
Yeah, and how bad is Vijaya's removal? He has a ultimate price and a Foul Tongue Invocation against a player who has 2 tokens and then a multicolored attacker. That's not working how he wants it to.
Look, you're going to have to cast these spells eventually.
Yeah, I know, but you just hope they aren't both for soldier tokens.
Here's Monastery Mentor.
All right, well, that's something Wijaya will kill. But I imagine if Jeff's casting it into an ultimate price he knows about, that he's got some value when this happens.
Vijaya's going to sacrifice a fetch land. He'll fall down to 10. I think a battle land will be on the way. There's a Prairie Stream. Sacrifice a Polluted Delta, fall down to 9.
And this incremental damage catching up to Wijaya again.
Sunken Hollow is under consideration, but it'll be another Prairie Stream. You know what this means. If Jeff wins this match, it's obviously sideboard time with Nick Miller or Ken Crocker.
I think as much criticism as Jeff gets, I think one of the parts of the game where people really don't respect him enough is his theoretical understanding of the game. You know, no one's going to say his in-game, that his decks are unbelievably powerful, that his in-game play is dominant. But what I think he understands is theory. So, okay, if you want to know how black-white control matches up in an unknown meta and what's important and what's unimportant, I think Jeff is one of the best players to answer those questions, and that's how he gets his good finishes too.
Read the Bones, going to bite the dust there from Negate. 2 more damage going to come across from these soldier tokens. And now we're going to head back over to Wijaya, who drew a copy of Shambling Vent. Now, I would say that'll put an end to things, but Jeff does have that Blighted Fen hanging out over there.
Right. I mean, and just that's what I'm getting at. What a Hoogland thing here to say, okay, I'm going to play 3 Blighted Fens because I actually believe, I understand why they're good and how they will be good. You know, that my deck might be weak to Ojutai, so it's important I play this land.
Wijaya going to cast the Salumgar Scorn here. And Jeff is going to pay cautiously. Here's Foul Tongue Invocation. And actually, this is a pretty nice play from Vidianto because he's left with just a land in hand.
Yeah,
that means that Jeff can't fire up the vent.
Right, so here's what happened. Vidianto did not want the Foul Tongue Invocation to get taken. So he decided at one point he was going to cast Foul Tongue at that turn before the duress resolved. Once he's made that decision, then he might as well Silumgar Scorn the duress because let's take a mana from Jeff.
Painful Truths, aptly named.
Yeah, dear goodness, that is a very painful card to be casting here.
Polluted Delta is the land past the turn back. Jeff will draw.
He can try to block with Shambling Vent. That would put him to 1 if he fed. Oh, goodness. He is on life support here. Esper Dragons is light on life gain outside of Shambling Vent.
Foul Tongue Invocation as well, but you have to have a dragon to pair with it. Here's Read the Bones.
Counter.
Salumgar Scorn is going to take care of that, revealing Dragon Lord Ojutai. Attack for 1. Vidianto is going to fall down to 2, past the turn back.
But remember, Jeff has the land to take care of Ojutai.
Yeah, Ojutai's not really much of a threat. Now, that Blighted Fen is playing a huge role in this game. There is Dragon Lord Ojutai.
He's got to fade another land drop from Hoogland. Can he do it?
Nope.
No, Jeff had the land. Did he just have the land the whole time?
I think he drew the land.
Okay.
I think he drew it. And it was a pretty big draw there to take care of the Dragon Lord Ojutai and put Vidianto down to 1. Vidianto will draw. It's an island. He'll play it. Shambling Vents on defense for him. Jeff will draw.
You know, and this is where Blighted Fen's doing work. So if Jeff didn't have another Blighted Fen, Vidianto could have attacked with 1 Shambling Vent and left the other one back to block, but he can't make that play.
Obnixilus is going to come down. Shambling Vent's the land here for Jeff. I think Vidianto might be in the lock. Now, Jace might buy a turn.
Too many cards for VD, for Jeff now.
Yeah. This is, okay, okay, the attack there is going to bring Obnixilus down to 4. VD's going to gain 2 life, pass the turn back, and now represent Shambling Vent there. So I don't think VD's dead just yet, but Jeff gets the opportunity to just continue to draw cards.
Yeah, more cards, keep going.
Looks like he's going to activate a Vent. Come on across here.
He does have cards like Stasis Snare that would win the game here when Wijaya goes for the activation.
Yes, and that is exactly what he's going to cast. He's going to play a copy of Stasis Snare, going to take care of the Shambling Vent, assuming Stasis Snare can take care of that, which it can, and that is going to do it. Jeff Hoogland's going to win this match here over Vidianto Wijaya, 2-1. Black-White Control is going to take care of Esper Dragons, and for Jeff, with a unique deck as usual, because he doesn't play stock decks, when I saw the 2 deck lists, and when we saw how game 1 played out, where Painful Truce, Dig Through Time, all of this stuff, I figured, okay, this is probably going to be a walk away for VD. But Jeff found a solid sideboard